Hi everybody, it's Kathy here from Kathy Loves to Scrap, and this is the monthly 5 for 5 challenge for January. I had to choose a sketch that I'm going to use for all 5, which was turned or flipped. Some journaling needed to be added, washi tape, use of my stamps, and some distressing using ink or paper. This is the sketch I've chosen for this month. Here are the 5 layouts. This was my original one following exactly the same. This one I'm not so happy about, but it's a beach one, following with a bit of a turn. This one here was a pretty one, using the same concept, same sketch. And then this one here was on the same process, using different papers. And as you can see, this is the one we're going to look at today. On request, people have asked how I do it and how I put it together. So these are the 5. Let's have a little walk through and have a look. This is the one, and I'm sorry about the angle of the camera. I've used the sketch, which you can see here, and I can turn it. I've turned it that way. I've turned it once that way. I've turned it once that way. And I've gone back and used it again this way. So you'll see the 5 different ones. And if you look at the corners, they're the ones that will show you how I've flipped that sketch to be used each different direction. Alright, so here is in the original position, so that's the one we're going to watch the process of today, and there's the triangle there to show you the corner. Here, I have it down here where I've got it flipped, and I've got the corner triangle here, and then all the elements around it. I have this one here with the corner at the top, so that's why I'm using landscape photos. And then this one here is the original position, and I actually use circle elements for the clusters. And this one here, the triangle's down in the bottom corner, as you can see. And I've used fussy cut flowers for the elements of it. But today's one, as you can see, I'm just using it in the exact same position as the sketch. And that's what we're going to look at today. And I will apologise, the video is not as good as I wanted it to be, but the camera set up, and I don't know what went wrong with the light. As you can see, I've got my photos. I've printed in already my flowers. I used my Cricut Joy earlier to cut out all the different little bits and pieces and the die cuts that I'm going to use to build my clusters around the bottom, plus the title. I ran them through the Xyron sticker maker because it makes it so much easier when you're working with them. It is a bit sticky at times, but it is much needed than using blobs of glue, I find. I'm also going to include the little information panel from the photo that I took that talks about the Tyrannosaurus Rex and its size and jaw. Alright, so I am using some paper here that is from the Little Yellow Bicycle Company. It's the baby dino and the dino dots. I have had this paper for a very, very long time, and it's time that I'm starting to bash my stash because I have so much. So that's why I'm going through and using some. Then I've just taken a Kaisercraft minty colour cardstock. Now, with all mine, I like to add a border around all of mine, so I use my cardstock for that. And you'll see that I use everything that I have to the best that I can so that I get the maximum amount of my papers. So I'm removing the safety strip. Then I'm going to cut in a 1-inch border because I'll use the inside part of the mint on the rest of the layout. My Fiskars is old, and as you can see, it's been well loved. But anyway, so I've cut it, and it's 1 inch around top to bottom and the sides. And I take out that part as well because that's going to give me my frame for my layout. I like the frame on the layout because it makes it stand out a little bit better than just if it was a flat page. I always feel it needs an edge to the page. Some people just like to work with the flat paper, and if I do distress the edges just to make it stand out. So I'm taking out the center because I'm going to use that. I know that one of my photos I want to mount straight away, so I'm going to cut this down to just 4 1/4 by just under 6 1/4, so that it gives a nice edge to my main photo. I'm going to use the other bit of the square to create for my journaling, which I've printed on my printer. Alright, now here I am again cutting off the safety strip from the paper, and I'm going to use the dinosaurs at the top. I was going to use the backing striped part as the main, but I'm going to take off 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch there, because that's going to sit inside my frame. So once again, I looked again to make sure that the papers sit right. Am I happy with it? Sitting dinosaurs. And now I just eye it. I don't actually measure my triangles. I've just eyed it what I want for this side. I'm not going to use that yellow side at the moment, and as you can see, it fits in there nicely. Now I still am thinking, do I want to go the spots or do I want the stripes? No, I think I will put the spots, because I actually like a busier background, because I can then put the clusters in to bring it out. Alright, so I placed it over my frame to make sure that it looks fairly where I want it to be, and then I'm going to put the photos down just to give myself an idea, because I want to use part of that backing as well. So I'm going to cut out some of it because it's going to become one of my little backing cards. Trim off the excess here. I decided that I don't want, well, I didn't have 2 portrait photos that I could use, but I didn't want all that excess in there, so I've cut it down, so I've got a smaller portrait now, which is fine, and it works on this page, I think. So I'm just going to cut out a window here that is roughly 4 by 3. This, yeah, no, actually, yeah, 2.5 by 3, 3 by 4, something like that. It's just so it's giving me a rough square that I can use as my backing. I then am going to ink distress the edges, so I use the Tim Holtz Gathered Twigs for that. I really do like Gathered Twigs as a distresser for my papers. It adds an antique-y sort of look to the end, a rustic look. Make sure that all the edging is done so that it all blends nicely. I'm using double-sided tape. I find that to be my best adherence, and I've always used it. It's so much easier and quicker. Pulling off the tape. As you can see, I'm a bit of a messy scrapper. Leave everything in a pile. Put it down. Make sure that it sits perfectly in the square. And I've done the same again with the corner piece. And I actually have it turned the wrong way if you look. And I've got the gap going the wrong way. So I first originally have put this down in this corner, but I then realised my mistake, and I fixed it so that the gap was around the right way. So I'm backing my photo now by putting it onto my mounting square, rectangle, whatever shape you'd like to call it. And as you can see, I flipped it there, and now it's right. Now I'm going to build the structure roughly. So I need 2 more backing squares in there, so I'm going to cut myself 4 by 3s, and I'm going to place them roughly now into place. And I like that little dinosaur part, and so that I'm following my sketch and I know what it's going to come up like. And don't forget, this is now the 5th time I've done this sketch, so everything is coming together pretty quickly. Once again, I'm inking the edges to give it that depth, that outline, so it stands out. Now, one of the things that I needed to do was include my stamps, so I've gone ahead and stamped in 2 trees onto those to give those a bit of a lift. Now putting the tape into place on all of the elements that I'm using right now so that I can put them together. I've actually switched the plain stripes around so that the dinosaurs are now going to be in the middle, so it breaks it and adds a little bit more depth. I've put the tape, and I really do apologise here because this is where the camera changes and you're going to miss a lot of the bottom of it, so I'm so sorry about that. It's really just building clusters at the bottom. I will fix that in my next video, I'm sure. So I'm layering in my pieces so that they are in, and this is the easiest way I find for me to play with it and get it right before I stick it to the layout. So I can manipulate it a lot easier before it is stuck down on the main layout. As you can see now, I've got the main structure. So I'm going to start building my clusters, and that involves using my cutouts that I've already pre-done and my flowers. I need my banner tags that are in the original layout, so I've taken a strip off there, and that one says down in the valley, which suits. I've trimmed up the little Tyrannosaurus Rex tag that tells me that Tyrannosaurus Rex have around 60 sharp serrated edged teeth, which were much thicker and stronger than those of other carnivorous dinosaurs, which is a bit of a fact. Alright, so I'm slowly building up my clusters, and unfortunately you can't see the bottom ones until the end, and I'm really, really sorry. I've added my journaling to a banner tag. I've edged all of my tags again with the gathered twigs, and I've just built those to the bottom. I'm so sorry that you can't see all of that. I thought they were in view, but they weren't. I've gotten the 3 flowers now because I've got 3 clusters building on the page, and it's important that I try and balance it. I like to play with my clusters first before I adhere them. Sometimes it's easier to just manipulate. All of my die cuts I've put through the sticker maker, as you can see, so that they can automatically sit in place and hold, so then I can build around them. Sometimes I move them and change them up. It depends on how the whole page is looking. So as I said, the bottom clusters, I'm really sorry that it's been cut off. Here we go. You can see how I build it. I've now put in some dinosaur paw prints to actually build those cards so that they're not flat. I use pop tape to raise the main elements, and I put it here on the T-Rex that I cut earlier, and that raises it off the cluster but gives it some depth to the page. And put that into place, and as you can see, I'm just a little bit showing there, I'll fix that up. Alright, so now I have my clusters building. I'm going to keep working. I'm putting in some extra flowers now, just to give it that little bit of an extra boost to it. These photos were actually taken on the day that my daughter was proposed to by her fiance, and this photo actually was taken minutes before he proposed to her. He actually had the ring in his hand behind his back. All she wanted was photos, and he was getting a little bit frustrated because he really wanted to just find the right time to ask her, but she kept stopping for photos. Alright, so I'm building up these clusters, and I'm adding some more leaves into this one here in the middle, which you'll be able to see more closely soon. I like how it's looking, but I still think it needs a little bit more, so I just keep adding. And because it is done through the Xyron, it's acid free, won't eat my photos, it's fine. Alright, now the challenge needs washi tape, which I almost forgot. So I've added some barbed wire, which ties into a bit of a Jurassic theme. This washi is a bit old, so it's not sticking so easily, so I'll have to do it bit by bit. And that's just tied off nicely, that end, and tied in the corner to the page. Alright, so when I do my pages, as you can see, I like to edge them with some broken lines. That lifts the page and adds some detail. And you can see the clusters that I've built down the bottom now, where it was just the same layering of the elements. And there's the title, which I call RAWR, which I cut on my Cricut, and it's got dinosaurs through the letters. Alright, so that's pretty much the layout, and I'm pretty happy with it. But I always like to finish it off with a little bit more, and the Nouveau dots are always a great addition to any layout. So put in these blue glitter ones so that the page has a bit of sparkle, because you know you never have enough sparkle in our lives. And I put them in elements of 3, because 3 is natural to the eye, like Fibonacci numbers are natural to the eye, so that's why your eye is a bit more pleased when it does it that way. I always like to use a date stamp these days, so I've started to add these to all my layouts. And I'm putting this one for a change to the top corner of the layout, as you can see there. So of all of my elements, I have the 3 clusters in there. I have the banner tags and my journaling, I have the washi, and I've used my stamps. And so that's the layout. Thank you very much for looking. If you like it, give me a like up. Hopefully you can see how that came together and like it and enjoy. And thanks once again for watching. Please, as I said, put a like if you like it and share it with your friends. See you next month.